I'd like to draw the meeting to attention, meeting to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag's right behind you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll begin as usual with a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we begin right away with our superintendent report, Dr. Meyer. Thank you. Oh, did anybody receive the paper today? Congratulations, Dr. Meyer wins Superintendent of the Year. She did not want me to bring the paper today.
Okay. So, as I said in the article, any kind of award like that is not about the person. It's really about the district and the people that are surrounding you to get any sort of award as a district or any particular person. So it's really just about how great the district is and all the people that we have working for the betterment of our kids. That's what it's about. So this is August. It's very brief, and then we'll start back in when the students come. Our next board meeting will be longer superintendent report, but I just wanted to remind everyone our 5-year strategic plan that we have all stakeholder input. Every month I will be updating the board, as the public will be here as well, on our progress in our 4 areas: facilities, student connection, quality staff, and community connections. And again, at the center of all we do, every student, every day, will be our student achievement and how our students are learning and growing every day. So you will be used to hearing little reports in our deliverables that we have. If anyone wants to see this more in depth, it's on our website and linked there at the top. The first thing I'd like to say is we are making a second push for the Long Range Facility Planning Committee. Matt Deal, our facilities director, is in the audience, and our CFO, Brian Wallace, is in the audience. Brian and I have done this process before. Matt has done this process a few times in this district. The 3 of us met and had a planning committee, pre-planning committee, and Kelly Fisher, our clerk. And we would like to have more representation from different places throughout the community. So something that would be great for the paper or also to report out is that we are seeking additional applicants, and it sort of gives you a little bit of overview here and an application for that. We have open houses coming. This one thing we've done to try to help the community this year, and actually our community relations liaison heard several feedback. Something that would be helpful to parents is if we had our elementary open house on one night and our secondary open house on another night. If they have grade level kids that span any sort of distance, they can't make it to both in the same night, and it would be very helpful for our families. So we did dedicate Tuesday, August 29th from 4 to 6 will be our elementary open houses, and our secondary ones, there's probably going to be 5 to 7, but we didn't have that quite cherried out yet. So we have this Wednesday. We know it's Wednesday, August 30th, and then the principals, it'll probably be 5 to 7, but they will pass that information along to the parents. Pre-registration, I want the board to know this. Right now, we're at 3,800 students pre-registered. 3716 have completed their pre-registration process. There was a little bit of a few hiccups, and we've done, Kristen has done some community relation pieces out and done some places that she's sent school messenger, help desk. The tech department has been wonderful. Admin assistants in each building have been wonderful before school got out. It was a little bit of a hiccup on the pre-registration process, but we're getting over the hump. There's 84 students that are still pending, that they're uploading some additional information. So right now, if those pending go through, there's 3,800 students. We ended last year with 3,799. That doesn't mean they're exact same students, because we could have some that have left and moved and some moving in. But as far as the board, knowing that enrollment is looking, it's going to be consistent. We also have, you'll see in the next 2 slides, we have some pending from some other districts that are asking to come in. This is just to let you know that when our school office is open, so that After this report is done to the board, it's uploaded to our website so that anybody who isn't here can actually go and access this information. And I wanted them to know when our elementary and secondary schools were open so they can have help with pre-registration process if they need that. Our open enrollment, which is a new law that passed the legislature this last session. So according to state law now, students can go to any district in the entire state that they want to go to. There is some particulars in place. If they have behavior or chronic absence problems, they can be denied enrollment. And they do have to transport their student to where our nearest bus is or the boundary line or to the school, whichever is closer. So just letting you know, right now, we have 183 students that have been accepted. Some of those are returning students. Those are all not brand new. Some have been with us for several years. We have 44 students. Those would be new students that are pending coming in, and 0 students denied so far. Clerk Fisher, what was the number that we've accepted so far new this year from West Bonner County?
14.
14 so far, and then it looks like there's 44. That have been, a lot of people have asked that, so.
Yep.
So that 44 students are West Bonner County?
I wouldn't say for sure every single one of them. I think there might be some, there could possibly be some Lakeland, there could possibly be some Boundary County, but I would project that the majority are from West Bonner.
And then of the 183, some of those are new students?
Yes.
Some of them are returned?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
But I wanted you to know the numbers, and we can disaggregate the data if you want it disaggregated farther to say how many are returning. Kelly could help me do that as well.
Maybe at the end of the process, that would be helpful.
Okay, that would be great. I always have
Mid-September.
go ahead, sir.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. But do we have any way to find out how many students, or if any, from last year's enrollment have left to go to another district, or is that not even possible?
We do have a withdrawal, but we don't necessarily know what district they've gone to until they request the records. So if they go to homeschool, we won't know for sure. If they go to a different district and that district requests the records, then we know. But we can certainly tell you how many people have left and moved.
Okay.
Every month I do an update, and this will be the last one because our new legislation needs to be in place. So I've been updating you with 2 or 3 new legislation every month. In this month, I'm highlighting Coach Kennedy's law, which is our silent prayer law. So I just wanted you to know that according to the new state legislation, I linked it in here, so if anybody wants to take a look at the bill text, they certainly can. But any employee can have a silent prayer. They can engage in personal conversations in situations where they would normally have personal conversations or conduct personal business. They may have a silent prayer. This is why they call it the Coach Kennedy's law, because this happened at an actual high school. The second part of this is if any student or employee chooses not to participate in that prayer, there cannot be any adverse action towards them. So I thought these were 2 important points for us to highlight out for the board and for the public. And we updated our who to contact. We do have new employees and new staff at the district office. This is where people call if they have questions. So we've updated that. I won't click into it now, but anybody can certainly access that, and it will be on our front web page for that. Any questions? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And at this time, we have public comment, and the Board of Trustees welcomes patron comments from the community. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person and must be appropriate for an open forum. Input must not identify individual personnel or students or be abusive, defamatory, or obscene. This is a board meeting held in public, not a public board meeting as governed by Idaho Code 33, Section 5. Thus, no discussions or responses can occur during the meeting. Issues may be referred to the proper staff person or committee for follow-up per the board's discretion. Any complaint about the district, including instruction, discipline, district personnel policy, procedure, or curriculum, should be referred through proper channels, administrative channels, before it's presented to the board for consideration. And should a large number of the public wish to speak on the same topic, we encourage you to select one representative to summarize the group's positions. However, we only have one today, Cami Boast. Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, it is a complaint. So I come to you with a bit of frustration and confusion and disappointment. I do have an exceptional child who has been surrounded by an amazing team at Furman Stidwell for his entirety time that he's been there. He's been there since he was 3 with the pre-kindergarten program. And he is now going into 6th grade. And it wasn't until this last year when we pulled him from a one-on-one para and put him into the self-contained resource classroom. And this year was the first time that he actually had his own place of belonging where he fit in. And he had ownership of something. It was his class, his group of people. He had a tribe. This was the first year that he had excelled in his academics, and there was an actual accelerated growth. Yet, without proper parental consent or knowledge, that class was taken away. We were informed by the teacher this summer that the class was gone. And actually, at one of the coffee potlatch meetings that the parents were able to go to throughout this past school year, one of our parents stood up to express how grateful we were that this class was presented to us and we had the opportunity to have this class, and we were very thankful for it. She was just had joined the group this year as well. Her child joined with my son. And she expressed that the opportunities that opened up for her daughter, and she wanted to know if this was something that was going to grow into the future. And it was expressed that this was something that would not be gotten rid of, that this was something that would grow into the future and into our schools, that this was something that she could be promised that it was going to stay in our schools, yet it was gotten rid of. All of the parents have still not been contacted that this classroom has been gotten rid of. We have had to contact the State Department of Education to get in touch with a dispute coordinator, and we are still talking with our school and the special education coordinator, and we have also reached out to the superintendent to try to find a proper solution to this, because again, there was no parental knowledge or involvement or consent for the self-contained classroom to be dissolved.
And that's the 3-minute timer, but if you have
Right.
information you would like the board to know beyond what you shared, you're welcome to submit it. in writing.
That's pretty much sums it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, I will hear approval for consent agenda, a motion for consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. If you read the Daily Bee sidebar today, you know that we have a lot of policy on the meeting today, and we start with a whole set of second readings of policies, which, what is it? Anyway, so we go through each one of these. These are ones we've seen before, so this is the chance to review the changes that were made and go from there. So the first one is policy 1100, membership. Revisions are highlighted.
Are you just entertaining motions?
I will entertain motions. These are ones we've all seen and looked at and gave the nod to these changes. So unless something jumps out at you that didn't happen from last month, these are just just kind of a approval of this.
Do you want us to make a motion, or do you want to
Each one.
discuss? Or-
Nope, we'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second, there'll be an opportunity to discuss, there's discussion,
Okay.
and then a vote.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 1100 membership.
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And same thing for the next 10. I'm not trying to rush you. If there's discussion, we have time, but
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 2140, student and family privacy rights.
it's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
There we go.
Move down to the
Move on.
third one.
Okay. I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 2425, parental rights.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Keep them
I
coming.
make a motion
Nice.
to adopt the revision to policy 3010, open enrollment.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 3080, out of state.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
Just, Madam Chair, just point of reference, when it's 3530, for example, that's the policy and the procedure was included. So the board adopts policy, not procedure.
And the procedure is the /P, but it's attached for reference.
Yes.
Point of reference, do we need to approve the policy?
Yes.
Both.
We're approving the
Or no,
policy.
procedure, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, just
Just
wanted to make
policy.
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 3530, suicide.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes, and
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 3570, student records.
A second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 4175, required annual notices.
Go ahead. I second.
Moved and seconded.
These.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
I make a motion to adopt the revision to policy 4420, sex offenders.
A second.
It's moved and
I caught trustee Decker as the second on that one.
moved and
That's
seconded.
just my ear, sorry.
All, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 5250, grievances.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes.
I make a motion to adopt new policy 5800, classified employment, assignment, and grievance.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Just two more.
I make a motion to adopt revisions to policy 5820, evaluation of classified, non-certified staff.
A second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to adopt new policy 9802, display of the national motto.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. So as you see, we do, just for those who are maybe in the audience or watching this later, this is a lot of what we do in summer is some of this policy work, because it is a large portion of the board's responsibility is to set policy. So that's why we see a lot of it, and I appreciate all the work that our clerk does to get these policies updated, revised in front of us, and that's why you just see a whole lot of them here in both July and August. So we go through a whole round of first readings of policy, which is our chance to really dive in and make any comments and ask for any changes to be made. So the first one we'll look at is 2120, Program Evaluation and Diagnostic Tests. And it takes me a second to open these, so. And to blow them up quick. So you'll see that there's some, I'll let you go ahead.
Madam Chair, if you have any questions for each one, I can just share why we're bringing them to you today.
That would be helpful, and
Okay.
then we'll hear comments.
So policy 2120, program evaluation and diagnostic testing, is really reflecting the changes in that one, as it's a revision, is to include the changes to Idaho parental rights law from House Bill 163.
Yeah, and parental rights is referenced down below. Did anybody have questions on that?
I did, and I'm reading my note to myself and making sure I'm finding where I was talking about.
On this one?
It is. Yeah, I guess I'm okay. I'm trying to figure out what I was trying to ask. When I read it in detail, that's different.
So this is a,
It will, and then I'll be.
not an action item, so I can loop back to this if you have a question.
Later today,
Can you-
or
The only change is or designee here.
The rest is,
The rest is just
And-
cut out because.
And
of
I
this new
can
parental
share,
rights.
because of the redundant policy language, it's also referred in policy 2140, and that's student and family privacy rights policy, so
Which is
that's
why
why
it's being taken out
it's
here.
struck.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the cross references, and then the parental rights, Idaho code is that.
okay, so I'm going to move forward to 2130, research studies. And you'll see a few things added, one sentence stricken. Again, it looks like it's repetitive content.
And for the same reasons for the parental rights.
Haven't we added or designate to anything when we're identifying the superintendent? Like,
Not all of them, but a lot.
a
Yeah,
bunch
and they're
this
starting
summer.
to,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for clerk or superintendent? Okay, I'm going to move on then to, let me make sure I don't skip any, 3050 attendance requirements.
Madam Chair, I would like to ask, as they are not included in your packet, that both policies, 3050 attendance requirements and 3055 truancy, which was going to be tied into the attendance requirement, be tabled, because they both need further review.
I'm fine with that. And we do need a motion to table the first reading of 3050 and 3055.
I'd like a motion to table the first readings of attendance requirements, 3050 attendance requirements, and 3055 truancy.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? We'll see those later then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. So we'll move on to 3345. Yes. go
So,
ahead.
the green I did leave on there as an explanation. The entire policy, because of the State Department of Education, they wrote their own policy, and it was highly encouraged by legal to adopt the policy directly written from the State Department of Ed. So the new language highlighted is directly from the State Department of Ed's website?
Our Director of Special Services went through and reviewed the entire thing.
And so this policy is 11 pages long because all the new content's in, and then you'll see right here, all the old content is
Is struck.
stricken.
Stricken.
Being deleted. Were there questions on this basic rewrite of the policy we have?
I did.
Yeah.
Now, I'm feeling this first one was answered later in the policy, so you can, I'm trying to remember where it was, but correct me if I'm wrong on this. On page 4, number 8, right here, it talks about trained personnel being able to enact these measures. All staff members directly assigned to students or classrooms demonstrate aggressive, dangerous behaviors will receive training in crisis management, and then it goes on to say who is going to be allowed to enforce that.
Employees.
So I guess, I think it might have been answered later in the policy, but does that mean no untrained people will be able to enact any of these?
Yes.
So, I guess I'm just like, how would that work? Would they never be near or in a situation where they're alone with the student to have to, how would that work if there's an untrained employee?
So if there's a student that is, a staff goes through that is going to be around students that may need to be restrained or secluded, typically, not always, but typically it is on their IEP, Individualized Education Plan, and any employees that are going to have interaction with that student would be trained in what we call a CPI. It's de-escalation. Almost all of our staff is trained in the de-escalation, and then the second part of that is if they need to be restrained, what is the two-person hold? And it's a full day training. We have train the trainer model, so we have trainers within the district, and the staff comes here and they are trained in that process. If there's an imminent emergency and there is somebody that is acting out and they're going to harm themselves or other, by law, any staff person, whether they're trained or not, could restrain that person. So it just means we do our best for any student that in the past, historically, or parents or the student has shown that they might need to be restrained or secluded. If that is the case, we make sure people are trained. But it doesn't mean that an emergency doesn't
We
come up.
just do our best to never have a situation that
Right.
would.
Right.
I did have another question, if no one else has anything. I'm going through my notes. Paragraph, let's see, I'm trying to, page 5, paragraph 3. It says, physical restraint and seclusion will not be used any longer than necessary to allow a student to regain control of his or her behavior and may not exceed 30 minutes. Now, I read later that there could be multiple times during a day. So does that need to say anything about like 30 minutes at a time, or would there be some type of interpretation could someone say that 30 minutes a day? You know what I mean?
The very next paragraph addresses that emergency situation where it could extend more than 30 minutes, but I don't know if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Because if you pulled in other expertise and made an evaluation that it is necessary to go longer, but
I think, wait, are you saying like add per incident after, may not exceed 30 minutes per incident?
Because I think it kind of words that later, but does it need to be stated here under that one spot that actually mentions that?
Right.
Time constraint?
I've got a question.
Well, I'll follow up with that to see if that is allowed by law, but I think it is.
I mean, if we had a student that something went sideways and they're restrained for 30 minutes, that student's not going to be around any other teacher, any other student that day, I wouldn't think. I mean, they're going to be, like, that's a situation where they're going to remove, I would think. I mean, if this happens at first period and somebody has to be literally physically restrained for 30 minutes, they're not going back to class that day,
No,
are
this
they?
is a very uncommon.
Right.
And to seclude students away is something that we don't like to practice either, because we're very much into inclusion. So these are just for the instances that are the very small minority of occurrences, for sure. But I do understand, so I'm going to say, look and see if the per incident can be added to that.
And I think that also the fact that, isn't there in this section where notice to parent,
On
that
page 7.
that the parent is notified in the time it's happening. It's not like there's no notification
Right.
happening.
Yeah, and I actually had a question on that notice to parent and guardian as well, on paragraph 5, and it talks about like calling them, and then if you can't get hold of them, you're emailing them and doing all the things. And if there's not a working email, is that clearly documented in the report that, and, because I didn't see
The
that-
delivery of the notice will be documented by the district, so whichever form.
Because if you're not able to deliver, I just want to make sure the liability is on that, like we did everything possible,
Yeah,
that
they-
email didn't go, like,
They call.
okay.
They definitely, in this sort of case, I can guarantee you, they do not email. They definitely
Right.
call and get a hold of somebody or the emergency contact. This is not an email situation. If we're restraining somebody, it's very, very, very low occurrence if we have to restrain somebody. We definitely, parents are on board, and the student typically would have an IEP, or it would refer to a law enforcement matter if it wasn't an IEP situation where it was a manifestation of their disability.
Right.
So it has the date and time, number 16, the date and time the parent guardian was notified. Do you want to say not only if they were notified, and the response of the parent?
I'm not thinking we're changing this one too much.
Yeah.
Granted that it came mainly because
Yeah.
it's a pretty highly massaged document from the state. Not that it can't, but I would be very careful about changing it without going to legal counsel first.
No, that's a good point.
But
It does say that they were notified.
the fact that it came from the state, I think, means we should do our due diligence and make sure it's all good too.
But that,
We
I
didn't- We didn't do
believe,
the work on it.
I believe our clerk
Yeah.
stated that.
And our director of special services, sorry, board chair,
Yep.
our special services director read through it piece by piece and spent several days going through it, and is in alignment that this is our practice.
Good, yeah.
And we're very good, students with disability, SEC teachers are and principals are very good about documenting what's going on, parent contact, like, they're very trained in that.
Well, for a state
So-
issue document, actually was pretty good.
Yeah. That was my only thought, was this is the date and time that they were notified. My only input was date, time, who,
Yep.
or how. So, like, nitpicking.
They'll
It might be
definitely,
on the form already.
yeah.
If I look at them.
I see what you're
Like
saying.
who
You're on
they-
the
who they
very
spoke
last,
to.
item 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking for where that was listed down.
If I would, well, again, I don't have the form to see. So just gonna form who's contacting how. Because you can, if it just says date and time, then later you might approve it. But this is the policy, it'd be on the form.
This information would go into Power School, and it asks, who did you talk to, how did you talk to them? And again, this would be a phone call.
So that's the procedure.
Yeah,
That's
that's the procedure, yeah.
Say, it's impossible for there not to be a very major paper trail for any of the actions now, because it's all through our program. So like, everything
This
has
is
to
just
be.
such a legalistic one. I didn't mean to imply that we can't make changes
Right.
to it, but it is a very, very sensitive policy.
I just get nervous when anything's recommended from the state and we throw out the one we've worked on. It's just that here, you just adopt that. I wanted to make sure that we're
And in-
massaging it.
Yeah, and in fact, your statement at the top, do you know why they changed it so much? Clerk?
I do not.
No, I don't know. But,
Are you talking about this intro paragraph here of the old policy? Are you talking-
no, I'm talking about the policy in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to read the two, I think you would
See enough similarities.
that you would see enough similarities, and that knowing that this is a controversial topic, and they're probably really trying to make sure people are following, because not all districts
Very
are as
sensitive.
conscientious of following as we are. I think we do a really good job in this area.
So I'm sorry, in my notes, with the passage of House Bill 281 that aligns with the state prepared training and resources It is recommended that adopting the policy directly from the State Department of Ed was highly recommended. So,
That's where the,
and I am sorry, without Googling House Bill 281, I don't know what that is.
okay. Are there any recommended changes to this policy as you see it? If not, then we will leave it at this for the first reading, and I will move us to 4140, visitors to the schools. This has additional content.
Yes, but to remind the board, this was mislabeled at July's meeting,
Oh.
and it did
Yes.
go along with the sex offender policy 4420 that you, as the board, just adopted.
Mhm.
So this language, the visitors to school, goes along with sex offenders visiting school property. And at the July's meeting, just for point of reference, this policy was attached in the packet, but on the agenda, I had mislabeled it, so I
Yeah,
had asked that
we-
you table to this meeting for first reading.
And all the content that is stricken in this one is in policy 4420 that we just approved. That's what she's just said. That's the second half of this. Are there any questions on the additions? Since the stricken part we've already approved.
I have
Yes.
a comment about, on page 2, under enforcement,
Mhm.
it says the principal has the authority. I'd like to see that say principal or designee, because when the principal's not there when this happens, we gotta have backup.
Do you see where it means?
It says designee, but is it a different spot?
No,
Just
go
to get
right
that?
under enforcement highlighted.
Okay. Right here.
Right there.
Okay,
Right there.
Oh.
yep. So,
Yes, I have one. Trustee Decker shared all of his notes with me.
Oh.
We have other policies that have a couple
And that-
revisions added.
Having been the designee,
Yes.
admin designee of the school, you have to have that authority.
Yes. Thank you. Are there any other changes, questions on the policy as it's presented? Yeah.
I don't know, I'm trying to, this, I think paragraph 4, it says such visitors
Wait.
shall, on the first page, page 1, paragraph 4, it's highlighted.
Yes.
and jumbled up there. Shall not be permitted if the occurrence, duration, or frequency or conduct on campus interferes with the delivery or instruction or disrupts the normal school environment. I understand, I think, the reason for putting all those reasons there, but I don't love it as a parent. If I could be told that I can't come because there's too many occurrences, I've been there too many times, I've been there too long. Does that make sense? Or obviously contact, I think, is a no-brainer. And that should stay there if that interferes, but as a parent, it would be nerve-wracking for me if a teacher or a principal or administrator can say I can't come because I've been there my duration. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it seems
but
open-ended and kind of scary.
The word that, or the piece of it that is a little more reassuring is if it's only if it's interfering with the instruction or disrupts. So
Which
if
is
it
pretty
were not
vague.
doing either of those things,
Yeah.
it would not be, it wouldn't fall under, just occurrence on its own wouldn't fall under this.
And I agree,
Just
and I think,
duration on its own wouldn't fall under this, but only if it were
and I understand, I think the
intent.
intent,
Yeah.
but it's just still pretty open-ended, like if for whatever reason a teacher thinks it's too much, like who's the judge of it being disrupting? You know, like at what point is it disrupting? You know, it seems a little
Yeah.
open-ended and a little scary for me as a parent if I've been there 2 times this week. Well, now the teacher thinks I'm disrupting, well then I can't come again and observe, like,
So I understood it to be at the discretion of the administrator, not individual teachers.
Correct.
That the administrator would have to evaluate it and say, yes, this is disruptive to the education. So I'm taking a little step away from just the teacher in the classroom making an arbitrary decision of, yeah, I'm tired of seeing whoever this is, to it's gone to the administrator's review.
Well, I would hope
All
that that
building
teacher would
administrators.
go to that person and ask.
First have that conversation
For a little
between the
clarity
teacher and the
on
parent.
why this person is coming back, so I did that once and that parent ended up opening my classroom.
Right.
I did, I had a parent that was coming constantly, and so my kids were working quietly, so I went to the door and asked him what he wanted. And I invited him in, and for the rest of the school year, he came in and helped with that process.
so, not to, I don't know if you were done. No. Okay, sorry. I actually was looking for it because I had teacher on my notes and I found it. It's right there in the third line. I'll just read it. An individual who wishes to visit a classroom during instructional time may only do so with prior approval to the building principal and classroom teacher. So, like, I think that together kind of leaves an open door for the teacher to be part of that decision-making, which is kind of scary at a non-administrator. That's kind of back to the point, too, that I was trying to make. I think in a perfect world, teachers would talk to the parent, and we're just not there. And as a parent, I would want a protection, I think, personally.
Is there anything that,
I think this is the new, if you look at the very bottom, this is from the new parental rights. And the intent of the law was to give parents more rights.
Right.
So I think that the new language in yellow is expanding what was the rights before. So I feel as if this piece is granting more rights to the parents. That was the intent of the law. This yellow part, Trustee Peters, is new.
I mean, there has to be a protection for the
So
teacher as well to deliver instruction. And if they have a parent who wants to come every single day and sit in the back of the classroom and interrupt instruction in any way whatsoever, like if their job is to deliver the instruction to the class, and if the parent doesn't want that, take your kid. Like, take your kid out of the class.
Well, I understand, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that they would
Yeah.
sit back there and ask questions and it disrupt, like,
yeah, that's a pretty clear-cut case of disrupting
Yeah.
instruction. Well,
but it doesn't, that would fall under conduct.
The presence
to
of
me.
a parent in the back of the room could disrupt instruction.
Well, why would that?
If there is,
I don't
if
think-
there is a tension for whatever reason, or so-and-so's dad is in the back of the room every single day, and so-and-so is always doing this, and everybody is, you don't have to say a single word and it can be disrupted.
I don't know if it is super helpful to get into hypothetical situations where we could keep going and keep going. What I want to make sure is that we see the intent of this, visitors to the schools, that the parents, but also the students in that class receiving instruction are protected by this as well. That visitors to the schools, that there are some restrictions within bounds. Parents have a lot of rights. And I think in specific situations where, say, what you're describing is more a situation where a parent and a teacher are not getting along, or maybe having a difference of opinion about what might be happening in a classroom. That might be a situation that is hopefully going to go to the next level already at the administrative level. I think we're trying to protect the instruction that's happening as well as protect who's in the buildings, that it's
Right.
the right individuals, and protect the rights of the parents as well to be there within reason. So,
I have a thought, real quick, before you
Yep.
shift it. Could that say with prior approval from the building principal with input from the classroom teacher, or some type of wording to where it's not.
Which
like-
sentence are you referencing?
It's the very
right
first
here?
sentence, but it's the second line.
This right here is.
Oh, yeah.
Like, could that just be worded maybe differently, where it doesn't imply that
And then
it has to include the teacher?
No,
Like,
do some-
obviously, the administrator will talk to the
I'm
teacher.
happy, I'm fine with that.
Say it one more time. You said
It just like
approval
if it
from
were-
the building principal.
And input.
And
from-
input
With
from the
input
classroom.
from the classroom teacher, like, obviously, so there's talking,
Okay.
and the teacher might be like, yeah, he's been there every day and he's disrupting, but it's not their decision.
It's the
It's the
principal.
administrator or designee.
And that way the parent knows that the principal, the building administrator.
Is the one
on-
making the decision. I don't
Did
know,
you-
is that helpful?
I'm right.
Catch that? Okay. I don't think that that conflicts at all with the intent of this policy.
You think it's good?
As a teacher, what
Think
would,
it's good.
would
Yeah.
okay.
Are you all okay with that? Okay? Is there any other questions on this one?
It-
No, that was,
Because this is the work session where I would take feedback, and then I'm going to get feedback from patrons on this. Similar to how I've done to the past ones, I was sending this out for people, so I can let you know if patrons give any input. But did any of the other trustees, are you guys, anybody else feel like, is that okay with input?
Here's my question. Do parents always have approval from the principal?
This is new law.
Right, okay. In this case, we're saying that they will have principal.
If they're going to visit and go into the classroom, if they're not signed up to volunteer, and I'm already signed up, I've done my fingerprints, I'm a volunteer, I have my little badge, and I'm going to go help, I'm on the schedule. But if I just want to go observe the classroom.
So
then-
are we now putting in the building principal or designee?
No,
What, you
this
show up
will
that
be,
day in the principal?
no, because they'll be ahead of time, so it has to be ahead of time. so
It's
we can-
approved ahead of time. Okay.
Principal, I think, needs to take the liability or the responsibility for that, I mean.
Okay.
So did you see what I meant, trustee Sherman? Like,
Yes.
yeah, it would be like they're gonna go observe, they're not helping participate. Hopefully they do, like Pearlie said, like.
Transition into
Yeah, they
it.
transition into helping read and do different things in the classroom would be great.
I was
Okay.
just thinking the times that I volunteer.
Yeah, that's different than what this is.
Yeah.
This is
That's
really
the-
just doing an observation, like going in to observe, really, not participate and help.
Okay.
It's different.
I will move on to policy 5285. Oh, I got it. 5285 for review solicitations. This policy is all new. What?
how did this one come about?
We just, we were looking to update our policies.
Okay.
And we didn't have many. So the next few that are new, we didn't have, we typically get asked this every year to solicit through teachers, sometimes staff, classified staff. So it was good to have a
Make it
policy to
official.
lean on.
I didn't have any complaint with the intent of this one either. I will look then at the next new one, which is policy 5840 armed district security, which is new for the obvious reasons.
And point of reference, the title has changed since
To-
the
yes,
agenda to
Armed
Armed
Security
Security Officer.
Yes. That. Are there any questions about how this one's worded? I think we understand the need for it.
Yeah. No? Good.
Okay, the very last one is a new policy as well, Student Activity Fund 7260.
And same scenario with this one, we have student activity funds, but we did not have a policy.
Yeah.
To
which is
point
good.
out, trustee Decker did have 2 edits to this policy, which is reflected up here, but the old policy had a word, the name of the person or company delivering the funds. It, obviously, he delivering the funds, So that was edited, that was in the second page. And then second page again in this, the 5th paragraph, a cash receipt will not be altered, and I forgot to add the not in there when I was typing that, so that was very important. It is now reflected in the board packet.
That's
Like,
That's a big one.
Those were
Any reason.
really
How many
big
zeros are on
catches
there?
that Trustee Decker caught.
And so the CFO Wallace read this through and approved it before it came on here, so it fits in alignment with fiduciary practices in our district.
I was surprised it's a new policy.
I am.
We follow this as best
Well,
practice, but
yeah.
nothing.
That's the thing, yeah, it's been in practice this whole time. Are there any questions on that policy? Other than, Pearlie, thank you for the fine tooth comb. Okay, well, at this time, I would hear a motion to move into executive session. Oh, we have some administrative announcements? Who?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
And just to go on record, Pond Ray has changed our physical address to the district office. So it, for the next year, can be searched as 901 Triangle Drive, but also the new address, we have again a year to change over, but it will be 365 North Triangle Drive, Pond Ray. So just a heads up that it will be
That's-
changing.
I wish they, like, gave us budget money for that sort of what.
We're still going to use our old envelopes until they're
Until we're
gone.
gone.
We
Yeah.
are not changing until they're gone.
It's not changed on Google Maps or search or
Okay.
anything, so it's
Okay.
a slow transition, but just
Heads up.
to announce that.
Are there other administrative announcements? This is how it is in July and August. Nobody wants to announce. We will, now, do you have any? No, nothing.
Okay.
Superintendent here doesn't have any?
Yeah, Superintendent, how do you feel? I will hear a motion to move into executive session.
There you go.
I got it.
Stretch those.
I make a motion to move into executive session as provided for in Idaho Code Title 74, Section 206, subsection 1B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, or public school student.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Trustee Decker,
Aye.
Trustee Sherman,
Aye.
Trustee Peters,
Aye.
Trustee Williams,
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Aye.
thank you.
You almost changed.
You started.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. It's not,
We're not adjourned.
I'm going out of open session.
Yep.